Unbelievable. Alan Brazil is shocked by Arsenal's move for a brilliant striker. And more. Arteta takes action and personally pushes to sign a Lautaro Martinez-style goal scorer. To wrap it up, Arsenal is ready to do whatever it takes to sell a special player this summer. All this and more you can check out now with the top Arsenal news directly from Emirates Stadium, so make sure to like the video and check your subscription so you don't miss any updates. And without further ado, let's get started. Arsenal are right in the middle of a whirlwind of transfer rumors as we approach the summer window. The Gunners are on the hunt for a new striker to strengthen their attack, and several names have been thrown into the mix. Alexander ISAK remains Arsenal's dream signing, while Benjamin Sesko has been heavily linked with a move to North London. Hugo EKTIKÉ is also on the club's radar as a potential option. Speaking on TalkSport, Alan Brazil weighed in on Arsenal's reported interest in EKTIKÉ. Interestingly, he mentioned that he's surprised another striker isn't being more strongly linked to the Gunners. With Arsenal actively exploring their options, it'll be interesting to see who they go for when the window officially opens. Alan Brazil shocked Arsenal aren't being more strongly linked with Jonathan David. Alan Brazil had an interesting reaction when he heard that Arsenal are being linked with Hugo EKTIKÉ. The TalkSport pundit admitted that he doesn't know much about the Bundesliga forward, but was surprised that Arsenal aren't being more strongly linked with Jonathan David. The Sun are saying that Arsenal are going for EKTIKÉ as an alternative to Alexander ISAK, Brazil was told. I don't know him, the Eintracht boy? I don't know him, but I thought that the Lille striker would be in the mix. I forget his name. Jonathan David. I thought he would be in the mix. Very good player. With Arsenal exploring multiple options for their attack, it'll be interesting to see whether David eventually becomes a serious target for the Gunners this summer. Hugo EKTIKÉ compared to Jonathan David. Arsenal have been keeping an eye on Hugo EKTIKÉ and Jonathan David as potential striker options, but the debate over which would be the better signing is still up in the air. Both players are talented, and statistically, it's tough to separate them. Each has their strengths, but there are also risks involved in signing either of them. EKTIKÉ has age on his side and has been finding the net consistently, making him an exciting prospect. On the other hand, David could be available on a free transfer at the end of the season, making him the more budget-friendly option. However, there's a big question mark hanging over both. Neither has played in the Premier League, and as we've seen countless times before, performing well in France or Germany doesn't guarantee success in England. That's exactly why Arsenal's top priorities remain Ollie Watkins and Alexander ISAK, two strikers who have already proven their quality at the highest level. If the Gunners decide to take a gamble on EKTIKÉ or David, they'll need to proceed with caution. Mikel Arteta is personally pushing Arsenal to sign striker who plays like Lautaro Martinez. Arsenal's search for a top-class striker has been dragging on for more than 2 years now. Despite pushing for the Premier League title in the last 3 seasons, the Gunners always seem to fall just short, likely finishing as runners-up once again. For the fans, it's beyond frustrating. Everyone knows that with a clinical number 9 leading the line, at least one of those titles could have been secured. That's why signing a striker is the club's top priority this summer. Arsenal have been linked with several big names recently, and now there's an important update on one of them. Mikel Arteta is personally pushing Arsenal to sign Santiago Castro. Arsenal will have to scour the whole of Europe to bolster their attack this summer, and let's be honest, we all know Mikel Arteta's dream signing, Alexander ISAK, but bringing the Newcastle star to the Emirates won't come cheap. In fact, it's looking like an extremely expensive deal. A more realistic option, Benjamin Sesko. The Slovenian striker is much more affordable, but Arsenal won't have an easy ride. There's serious competition for his signature. With that in mind, the Gunners are keeping their options open, and now a new name is making waves, Santiago Castro from Bologna. Reports suggest that Arsenal are showing strong interest in the Argentine forward, and according to Football Transfers, he's climbed high on Arteta's wish list thanks to his standout performances in Serie A. It doesn't stop there. Apparently, Arteta is a huge admirer of Castro and is personally pushing for the club to sign him this summer. The challenge? Castro only arrived at Bologna in January last year, and his contract runs until 2028. But if Arteta really wants him, you can bet Arsenal will do everything possible to make it happen. There's no doubt that Castro is a talented striker, but let's be real, Arsenal fans will have their doubts. There's no guarantee he'll hit the ground running in the Premier League. At just 20 years old, he's only been playing in Europe's top leagues for a little over a year. Relying on him as Arsenal's main number 9 next season would be a massive gamble, but as a long-term investment, now that's where things get interesting. In Italy, they're already calling him Il Nuovo Lautaro, aka the new Lautaro Martinez. That alone tells you how highly rated he is. Sure, he's not as prolific as the Inter Milan star just yet, but with 10 goals and 8 assists for Bologna this season, he's showing serious promise. And remember, he's only 20, there's plenty of room for him to develop into a top-class striker. Bringing Castro in as a backup option for Arteta wouldn't be a bad move at all. The big question is, would he be happy playing second fiddle at Arsenal? That's something we'll have to wait and see. Arsenal will do all they can to try and sell special player this summer. Arsenal are going to have to make some tough decisions and trim the squad down this summer. If the Gunners are serious about competing for top honors next season, they'll need to streamline the squad and add more quality, which means saying goodbye to a few players. Kieran Tierney is widely expected to return to Celtic, while Jorginho might also be on his way out of the club. But there's one player whose situation at Arsenal is a bit tricky right now, Reiss Nelson. The winger has been out on loan at Fulham this season, but unfortunately his campaign has been plagued by injuries, which have severely limited his playing time. Nelson was once tipped to be a future star at Arsenal, but things haven't quite panned out as expected for the young attacker. Mikel Arteta once called Nelson special, but since then, he hasn't been able to make the breakthrough that many had hoped for. On the latest ISAK, Charles Watts gave a little insight into what could be next for Nelson, sharing some interesting thoughts on his future with the club. Arsenal will try to sign Reiss Nelson. Charles Watts shared what he knows about Reiss Nelson's future at Arsenal, and let's just say, things aren't looking easy for the young winger. According to Watts, Arsenal will indeed be looking to sell Nelson this summer, but it's not going to be straightforward. He pointed out that with Nelson missing the second half of the season due to injury, the Gunners' plans are now in a bit of a tricky spot. It's tough when he's missed so much of the season, Watts said. Everyone probably thought that when he picked up that injury, it was a blow for him, but also for Arsenal's plans. They'd have hoped he'd have had a really strong season to increase his value. He was having a solid season before the injury, and with that, you'd think they could have got around 10 to 15 million pounds for him this summer. Now, that's looking pretty difficult, but I'm sure Arsenal will do everything they can to move him on, and I'm sure Nelson and his representatives will be working hard to find a permanent solution for him this summer, Watts added. Charles Watts suggests that it might be tough for Arsenal to find a club willing to buy Reiss Nelson this summer, but there's a good chance Fulham could be one of the interested parties in making his move permanent. Fulham right now aren't exactly stacked with depth on the wings. Harry Wilson's had his own injury issues, and let's face it, Willian's not getting any younger. With that in mind, Fulham will likely be on the lookout for a winger this summer, and Nelson could just be the player they turn to. When he's been fit and played this season, his stats have been pretty solid, plus Nelson already has good connections with a few Fulham players, including Alex Iwobi and Emile Smith-Rowe, so moving permanently to West London could make a lot of sense for him on a personal level too, so don't be surprised if Marco Silva's Fulham make a move to secure Nelson for the long term this summer. Well folks, those were the main news for today. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated on everything happening with our beloved team, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any updates. Thanks for joining us, and until the next video.